Hey guys, Sajady here. Welcome to the Moss on Sunday, where we talk about the deeper topics on why life happens, literally explaining life, and then providing you solutions on it. And it's very different. The topic is very controversial because a lot of times, throughout history, people go, well, it's because of this, and we just hold on to this, whatever this is, and it really doesn't allow us to, go past, the problems that we have in today's society, and that's why Moss on Sunday is becoming so popular, because more and more people are starting to realize it's like, hey, this and this bucket here that I'm pointing at is what you've learned from your parents. I mean, look at you. You've learned a shitload of stuff from your parents that you don't even know that you think you inherited. Most people think. I was just talking to a woman, and with her child, and because this is on teenagers and mental health issues, and it's like, gosh, I thought she just inherited my, beautiful woman, by the way, beautiful daughter. She just inherited my eye color and my hair color and, skin tone and stuff like that. It's like, no, she inherited, how you don't treat yourself really well, how you second guess yourself, all those real minute details, that the family has gone through. It's in your child. And many of you, again, raise your hand, many of you, how many of you experienced that once you start to awaken up, like through this woman here on the chat, really loving the the journey of the 18-day HyperMeditations. Really quite amazing how you can say, wake up and go, oh my God, this is the ingredient of my life right here. And most of those ingredients are my parents. It's like, I haven't really lived. Again, so chat in on how you've awoken using the XI method or becoming exponentially intelligent. Let's take a deep breath in and make it a experiential Sunday. By the way, and because that's how we really change. XI knowledge, especially for those who are new, XI knowledge is not knowledge that you sit and think about it. It's here. XI knowledge is like once it hits you, it starts to shift you because, well, it allows you. It's not knowledge at a low frequency. It's a knowledge at a very high level aspect or frequency that's transformed. Literally transforms your life. So beyond psychology or motivation or having to do things. So, all right. So just reading through some of the comments. Some of you commenting on your kids. Our son was diagnosed with ADHD, and we found he had visual conception issues and had him go through visual therapy. The ADHD symptoms were caused by his eyes not working together. It was fascinating. Exactly. And and Diana, if you don't mind me reading you, this is what more and more people are starting to understand what's going on with ADD, ADHD, and I'll explain all those details, but just to read or analyze your son, okay? And I'm so proud that they're trying to figure out, I say it's a spatial referencing issue, right? If you don't know what spatial referencing is like it's a GPS for your mechanism, for your body to go, hey, I am in this part of this reality. So you know how to render, or how you know how to handle or navigate the reality that you exist in. And it's not like, well, shit, I'm sitting here in the living room. I'm actually in my cigar room. It's not about, hey, I'm in a cigar room or I'm in my bedroom. It's not about that. It's like, what dimension and what reality and what consciousness are you creating yourselves? Because that dictates how you see your life. And that sounds really kind of out there, so I'll make it really simple for you non-XIers, because there's a lot of new people that come in. Think of it this way: you're in a bad state of mind, right? You're in a bad state of mind, and you're walking into a happy place. Are you in the same reality as everybody else in you, around you? You're not, right? You're seeing the happy place that everybody else is seeing. from a very different perspective. It's a very different filter. So what I'm talking about is, again, not physical representation, although that helps. I'm talking about the filters that we see ourselves. Now, if you've grown up with a filter of, say, lack, right? You were born, you're raised on the farm, right? And you had to work your ass off all the time. And you never had enough money. What do you see a life of abundance through lack? I was with somebody that was actually like that, a very, very wealthy individual, but again, always seeing stuff through lack, right? Lack, and lack this, and this is going to end, this is going to happen, and all that, and again, never seeing, say, the possibilities on that. Not yesterday, but a couple days before. Anyway, so no matter how much abundance that person has, that person will see it in lack. So do you see the dimensions or the possibilities on how things look different to different people? Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not talking about, well, I've got, a great place here out in, I don't know where, Manhattan, and, it's a beautiful building, and I should be wealthy, I should be happy, and so on. And, you're not. Or, I'm out in the forest, living the life of a Buddha, and then I should be happy, and you're not. Again, it's because it's got nothing to do with your surroundings, your physical surroundings. It's got everything to do with, say, the reality or the dimension that you render yourself in. So let's take a deep breath in again for your son, Diana. So just this is how deep exponential intelligence goes on explaining why life really works. In this case, your son's ADHD. Our son was diagnosed with ADHD, and we found he had visual conception issues. He had him go through visual therapy. The ADHD symptoms were caused by his eyes not working together. It was fascinating. So the reason why his eyes don't work together, okay, at a deeper level, and yes, I'm not saying those doctors are wrong, but at a deeper level, he's rendering himself in 3 different dimensions. Okay? He's rendering himself in 3 different dimensions. And each aspect of it, unfortunately, is right down the eyes. It's like this way and then this way. So he's got one coordinate, a third looking from a different version of himself, another third looking at a different reality, and then another third his body. So he's not really in his body, so to speak. If you pay attention, and Diane, please comment in on if this is accurate. I can read anybody. I can analyze anybody. I don't need machines or scans or MRIs or anything like that. We all have these natural abilities, and I teach these abilities, because we all have them, right? We just need to hone them. We're going to do that, by the way, on the Driving to Success Consciousness coming up. It's a little too late to join because it's starting later today here in Brainerd, but you can join online. Okay, you still have time to join online. But again, Diane, comment in on how I see your son. So 1, he's not in his body. 2, he floats around, and then 3, he sees 2 dimensions at the same time, and that's why his eyes can't, say, focus. Okay, and I'll go through some other, say, issues that your kids might have in this session as well. Again, guys, I'm not claiming I'm a doctor. I'm not claiming I can cure anybody. But whether you're Western medicine, Eastern philosophies, or what we do here, again, I don't do any of that. But what I can tell you is that I can awaken your natural healing abilities. And whether you're using Eastern or Western medicine philosophies, then they work better. But without awakening your natural healing abilities, I don't care what you do. Eastern philosophies, Western philosophies, the latest technologies in surgery, the latest life force book that, Tony Robbins has and all that stuff, that shit won't work. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. But again, if you don't wake your inner core, your inner being of who you are, if you're not congruent in a reality or present moment time, none of that stuff will work. Okay? Like with your son, you'll get some sort of results, but again, he needs to be in one reality. The reason why he's split up is because he's a satisfier, he's a pleaser. He starts to please you, so he creates a reality that you see, and then he starts to say please his father. So he sees another reality, he sees another presence of himself. So when you're with him, it's like, oh, I'll use this left side of my identity. Okay? And you'll notice he'll always be on your right side, by the way, or you're always on his left side. When he's with his father, he's always on his right side, the father is. And they're always hanging out together like this. With you, you're always hanging out together. That's his reality. It's literally split apart. Okay. Another way of putting it is if you had a crack in your, you're wearing glasses, right? Prescription glasses, and you had a crack right down the middle. You'll see the same thing, but there's going to be a little distortion, right? It's going to the field, or how you see the light that hits the lens, is going to be very different. It's going to be a little distorted. That's what's happening. But again, it's not between his eyes. His brain processes it that way. So I can actually work on him. I would suggest doing a session to bring him in, and then that will help him reconnect his eyes the proper way. So do you see the underlying factor? Okay. So that's just one example. And again, I'll go through and read some other individuals. And let's just focus it in on, say, your kids, or, if you have grandkids and so on like that. So in this session, teenagers and mental health issues. What you can do, what's really behind the teenage mental health epidemic. So on Sunday, I'll go through and talk about ADD, ADHD, PTSD, depression, anxiety, suicide in teens, exposing the root causes and giving you solutions that work. Okay? Now, some of the solutions that I tell you, or the root causes, you might go, well, fuck, that's not it. Okay? If your teen is having issues, or if you're having issues, you might want to be open to something different. Okay? Because if your stuff is not working, then it doesn't make sense. It'd be asinine for you to go, well, that's not working. I'm just going to keep trying my stuff that's not working, and keep trying it. Again, that's a definition of insanity. So, and that might be something wrong that you're passing on to your teens, by the way, holding on to something that doesn't work and trying it harder. Okay, it's not going to work. A square peg will not fit in a round hole, so to speak. Does that make sense to you? So even if you hammer it in, it's not going to fit perfectly in there. So in this session, I'll help you understand the underlying reasons for your childhood issues, for your child's issues, to learn 3 things you can do to help your child immediately, and then join a HyperMeditation to help your child and you. But what we'll do, the HyperMeditation, I'll just guide you into the state right now. So let's just take a deep breath in. We'll make it an experiential show. Breath in again, and then notice your child, and then notice you. Okay, notice your child. Notice the patterns of your child that's running, and the biggest factor is like, shit, when you were younger, were you running the same patterns? Did you do the same things, or did you do the exact opposite? Because if your child is doing the exact opposite of you, it's the same thing. It's just that it's the opposite. It's the mirror image. So it doesn't really matter. Breath in again. There you go. So most issues, underlying reasons for your child's issues is a displacement of time and space. Okay, so the first formative years of a child is what I call the liquid stage. Okay, and then it goes into a gel stage, and then a solidification stage. So the reason why most children have issues between, say, 0 to 7, okay, or even before birth, right, in utero to about 7, 8 years old, depending on how your child grows. So in those times, your child is literally referencing itself on how to spatial reference. Okay, it sounds kind of crazy, but that's all the child is doing. It's sensing, it's touching, it's experiencing all the 5 senses, so it can hone in on how it sees its reality and how to interact in its reality. Right? It's testing the boundaries of its environment. This environment is very new to it. If you are, I say, of spirit form or have never been here in the past, you've never been here. Obviously, things look very different to you, right? It's actually physical here. So again, being in a physical form is very new to most, say, spirits, if you will, or a higher sense of who you are. Okay? You've rendered, you're an astronaut, you've come down here, and now you have touch, you have taste, you have visual representations and so on like that, that no other, say, reality has. And I know it seems like it gets out there, but again, look at your child, remember back to the time when they were infants. They look around. Right? They're always touching, they're always tasting, they're always grabbing things, they're always experimenting. They're seeing how things work. They're seeing how the mechanics of this reality work. Right? Imagine this. I put you into a new environment. Right? I give you a new set of tools that you've never seen before. What do you do with those tools? You start and go out and play with them. You start to see how they work. Right? Say I put you in, say, a car. Right? And you've never seen a car before. Again, you've never seen a car before. What do? You go out and experiment. You see what the pedals do. You see what all this instrumentations do and all that stuff. Well, babies do that for the first 7 years. That's what they do. Unfortunately, what's happening, and I'll give you a drastic example, but this is where most kids get fucked up. Okay, the first 7 years, you're teaching, the parents don't know what all those gadgets are in this reality, what they're for, why they're there, what to do about them, because they learn from their parents. And again, I'm not blaming your parents. I'm just saying this is the process that's happening. Okay, whether you want to blame yourself or whether you think I'm blaming you, I don't care. It just is what it is. I'm just telling you how evolution works in human society. Okay? So you didn't learn from your parents, and your parents didn't learn from theirs, and so on and so on and so on. So just look at all the things that have been handed down to you that have been wrong. Straight out, it's been wrong. It might have worked at some point, right? A lot of past generations have gone through war and lack. Right? And it worked fine, right? They're survivors. That survivor mechanism is now embedded in the genetic factor of your child because that's what survived. So the gene pool puts that into its survival tool chest, survival. But then you, for example, will always have to perpetuate survival mechanisms or a survival environment for you to be happy, because that's the only tool you know how to use. Does that make sense? So now imagine that, passing that on to your child. Back to that example of what you've taught your child, okay? And again, I'm not blaming you. I'm just telling you how the process works so you can wake up, right? So you've been taught wrong, and we'll use the car example. Or you can use any example, but in this case, it's a car example, again, because of the driving event. So you've been taught wrong. The wiper. The wiper is used to do something other than, clear off the windshield. Okay? The radio knob is used for something else. It's to turn down, whatever. Again, everything is done. Everything has a different meaning to it. It isn't the right meaning. Okay? Your kid is born. You introduce him to this car or your environment. Okay? And I'll finish this example, and I'll give you another example, maybe a better one. And then you teach them the same thing that you were taught, but then it's wrong. So he doesn't know how to drive. By the time he gets to be 7, he doesn't know how to drive that car properly. Okay, so does that make sense to you guys? Again, comment in. Let's take a deep breath in. I'll give you another example, maybe a better example. Sometimes I don't choose the best examples. But say that your kid, right? You're born, you have a child, you're born, and then you teach him the language, but you teach him the wrong definitions of the words. Simple as that. Okay? You literally teach him the wrong definitions. An apple is not something that you eat. An apple could, it's like you're showing him a shoe and you're going, son, this is an apple. And he goes, and he trusts you. And you might think that's really far-fetched, but that's what you really do. It's like, hey, the shoe is an apple, right? And then you put all the definitions of whatever that apple is supposed to be onto a shoe, and then he starts eating his shoe. It doesn't look good, right? It doesn't look right. He looks fucked up in other people's realities. And it might sound funny to you, or it might sound like this guy Moss, I'm listening to him for the first time. But again, don't worry about, say, the logic, the concept, or the visual. It's just like, that's insane. But let's put an actual application to it. Okay, let's put love. Here we go. Great example. Okay, you define love. Your kid looks around. Okay, if you think my examples are so crazy, this real definition is even more crazier. Your kid has a handbook, right? He comes down in his genetic pool with a handbook of what love really is about. Okay. Excuse me. What love is really about. And goes, love is supposed to be X, Y, and Z. Okay. He looks around in your environment, and he sees the way, the spouses, the mom and dad treat each other, siblings treat each other, uncles, aunts, and society. He watches TV, and it's like, holy shit, wait a second. This definition of love, the pure definition of love, does not look like anything of this reality. Love. It's like, what the fuck? So, but then over time, right, you hammer into him that love is literally that. You have to sacrifice yourself for love. You have to be really mad at your spouse, right? Although you love that person, right? How many people go through go through that process, right? It's like you're always into arguments and so on like that, and then you tell your kid that, gosh, I love him. It's like, it's very incongruent. So what are you doing? You're redefining all the natural patterns, whether it's love, whether it's success. Look at what you do for success. For him, success, or for them, success is supposed to expand you. That's the original definition of success, right? You've got this much, and then you become successful, and you become more. But then success in the way you teach it is like, well, fuck, I have to sacrifice myself here. I have to sell more of myself here. What's really valuable, right? Because the kid knows what real value is, right? Again, you, right? Your presence, your essence, a sense of self. I have to sacrifice this so I can accumulate something that's worthless. And this is where kids go, Mom, why are you working so hard? Why are you doing all that and losing your identity? Why are you doing all that and then treating me really unfairly or getting mad at me? It's because I need to provide food provide food on the table. And then over time, that message sinks in. And it's like, oh, I get it. Okay, love or providing or success or security means that I would have to sacrifice myself, pull away myself. To provide food or nourishment. So that kid grows up in that distorted definition. Does that make sense to you all? Okay. Again, was my weird examples of the car and calling an apple a shoe, was that stranger or more messed up than the real definitions I just gave you on how most people teach their kids? Okay? Which one was more messed up? I would rather teach them that an apple is a shoe rather than teach them that Love means hating somebody. Love means sacrificing. Love means all that. So look at how you teach your money. Look at how you teach all that stuff. And that's just the physical aspect, guys. That's just physical things that we do. Referencing, noticing your own body. This is where ADD, ADHD happens, right? You, as a parent, you're preoccupied. Okay, I'll put it basic wise. You're preoccupied. What is preoccupation? Preoccupation is like your body's here, you're fucking somewhere else. You are not there. You are not there making food for that, for your child, nourishing him. It's like, I do that all the time. I'm making food. And it's like, here's your food, damn it. Right? Because that's how you would do it. Because you're preoccupied. He doesn't feel the love. He doesn't feel the connection. Because that's what he's looking for. That's what their kids are looking for. It's like that connection between you, the food, you, and whatever else that you're doing. Most parents are out of time. They're out of touch. They're out of touch with themselves. Right? They're alcoholic or they're whatever because their parents didn't teach them. And now you've got kids and you're teaching them the same thing. And again, unfortunately, with each generation, that disconnect goes further and further and further away. If you have kids listening, kids, comment in on if this is not accurate on how you see your parents, right? They'll give you the food, right? And it's like, shit, man, where's the love underneath that food, right? On the flip side, goes, oh, I totally love my mom, or my love totally feeds me. But on that example, again, for most people, your parents are so insecure or so incomplete that they literally smother you. It's like adding, you like whatever, Chick-fil-A sauce. My kids love Chick-fil-A sauce. Really good stuff. I don't that much, but it's like, you've got Chick-fil-A and then, like a smothering parent, right? It's like a pound of Chick-fil-A sauce on top of one nugget. That's what it tastes like. It's like, shit, Mom, I don't need that much, right? So it's the other way. Either way, the point is that whatever that you're offering your kid, okay, and this is future, we're going to be doing three or four more topics on kids, on why kids don't respect you, why kids aren't on that society. So I'll be talking about that. So this sets the stage on ADD, ADHD. Okay, you look at TV. Okay, so it talked about the parents. They're out of time. They're not in touch. They're not in reality with themselves. They're too preoccupied. They're in another reality. And when I see you, I literally see you like physical form here, and then you're fucking out the door. Okay, I don't know where the hell you are. And you go, Moss, my life isn't working the way it is. Well, you're not in your life. Your kids see the same thing. They just don't know what to do with it. Simple as that. So let's take a deep breath in. So the other aspect is society, right? Society always wants you to be something better than you are. No matter where you are, society always wants you to be better or do something than you are. Simple as that, right? That's how media and that's how advertising works. That's how government works. That's how Facebook works and so on like that. It's like all those happy pictures on Instagram and so on like that. By the way, I'm not saying you should, shut down like Elon Musk goes, I'm going to buy Facebook and then delete it. It's not about that. It's about teaching how to use those tools properly. Okay. So what happens? You have some kid or some person takes an hour to have that perfect image of themselves and they post it, and it's like, gosh, that person is real. That person looks happy. That person feels complete in that picture. I want that. It makes the kids go, shit, my life, look at my parents, they're disconnected. That kid looks really connected at that one single shot in time, that single snapshot in time. They look really, really connected. I want that. So they'll feel more and more disassociation of themselves. Again, their physical form is here, their spiritual form is here, and they're supposed to be integrated. That's for what the first 7 years, again, the liquid form, are supposed to be doing, right? You're supposed to be teaching them how to integrate, you that kid in that car in that example, or that kid to their higher self. It's like, oh, I get to see how this reality works. I get to see how I work. So I'm all good. But what happens, again, society starts to pull that apart. It's like, you're not good enough on your own. You need, I don't know, some brand. You need to be listening to some tune. You need to be doing this. You need to have this haircut, right? You're out of here. So again, you start to go, shit, this version is not me. This version is a better version of me. This version people are not going to like. So that's another reason society, again, it's a separation of self. Okay, so those are reasons on, again, separation. Kids become alone, and a lot of kids have, say, fantastic abilities to see other realities or other possibilities. Now, many of you will go, that's just in their head, right? They don't see those things that they do. They actually do. They're just in different realities that you can't. Somebody's talking about dyslexia. I'll explain what dyslexia is from an XI point of view. So what happens is, again, take a deep breath in. What happens, again, is a separation of self, right? They go internal. They don't know who they are. They keep that separation. They validate it with, say, their parents' environment, right? Their family environment. They go, yep, this world is about separation. So they go, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be separated. Over time, again, this is where ADD happens, ADHD. ADHD is it's very simple. It's all about time and space. What happens is, like, in the beginning, you're really connected. Kids are really happy just being here and really touching and experiencing, because their higher self, okay, their spirit, if you want to call it, want to feel the experience of touching things for the first time, because it's the coolest thing ever. Okay? If you don't believe me, those who have transformed their lives, especially doing the 18 days and some of the high-level classes that we do, again, like the driving event coming up, do you notice that you'll go through life once you've cleaned up, and like walking is a fantastic experience, washing the dishes, or just like looking at your hands going, shit, this is the coolest thing ever. Because you're going back and reclaiming what you were supposed to do, say, in time, right? What you were supposed to do as a child, right? You're going back and revitalizing yourself and reconnecting the way you should have been, right? Because that's what you always wanted. You always wanted to be part of something. Most of those kids who have ADD, PTSD, and all that, they want to be part of something. Part of something to them and to parents are, go join a group, go do this, go join basketball. I'm going to put you in 10 different, whose parents are like this. I'm going to put you in 10 different classes. So you don't even have time to think. You know, you got one after another, drains the parents out and it drains the kids out. It's like, and you know, they might have fun, but they lose themselves in that. I'm not saying it's not a good idea to put your kids in that, but again, some parents go overboard. The only thing is that they want to really connect with themselves. They want to be in space and time. They want to know that their grander version, their higher version that we all have, okay? People call it their powerful self, their internal self. Yoda calls it the power within, the oneness that everybody seeks for, their limitless self. You know, if you're a scientist or atheist, whatever it might be, right? It's all here. Do you just want to connect to that right from the get-go? Right when you're from 0 to 7, that's what you want to connect with. But then your parents and everybody else in society goes, no, that's not what it is. You need to connect to something else. And this is where ADD, ADHD happens. Okay? And I can prove it to you. Okay? My methods might be all, the process of my methods you might not agree with, but the results that I get for people, each and every time happens. These are again, these are kids where they're so distorted. They can't even sit in class for a minute. They're very disruptive. They're very distorted. You know, their parents can't even stand them. They have a couple sessions with me, or even one. and they're fine. They're fine because they actually go, oh shit, this is really cool, and they start re-experimenting with this reality. So again, it works. It works really, really well. So that's where ADD, ADHD, and so on comes from. The original cause, again, just as a reiteration, the original cause of ADD, ADHD, PTSD is something, and something different. I'll explain that, which is similar to ADD. ADHD. So ADD, ADHD is a function where your body, your computer, your higher self, your consciousness says, I am in this reality. And then ADD is like, no, wait, I'm supposed to be in this reality. No, wait, I'm supposed to be in this reality. No, wait, I'm supposed to be in this reality, right? So you're all over the place. You don't know where you should be. So ADHD is literally about, I'm in this reality, but I think I'm in this reality. Your body, your higher self, your computer, if you're a computer and you're generated on a computer screen, okay? This hologram, this 3D hologram that you call your body, right? That computer, your spirit, your limitless self, goes ADHD. Wait, my body's, I think the body is here, but the computer doesn't really know where the body is. It lost itself. So it's like if you're playing on a computer and you're running with a joystick and you want to move it to the left, and then the player moves to the right because it's not aligned. So you've lost connection between, again, your higher self and then your physical form here, right? The two aren't congruent. So that's ADHD. The ADD again is like, computer's here, and the computer goes, I'm supposed to be in point X. No, wait, I'm supposed to be point Y. No, wait, I'm supposed to be point this, all over, say, the game board, and that's where ADD happens. PTSD is a memory of, say, either a previous lifetime or a genetic pattern from, say, a past. And this has been proven, by the way. PTSD shows up with, I think it was in Norway or some northern country like that. Norway or something, where a lot of those individuals, they went through war, and they did a study in that place. It happens everywhere. But they did a study, and 5 generations deep, these individuals who've never seen war elicited patterns of PTSD, post-traumatic, stress syndrome. So, related to war. So, what was that? Say that you have a great grandfather that was in war, okay, and they died. But they survived, before they died, they survived the war. So how they survived the war is what got stuck in the gene pool. Okay, so they have kids, or because your genetics, your DNA is always fluid, right? Or the mother, or again the child gets distorted because the way that, say, person survived was through PTSD, right? Through a lot of trauma. So what happens now is that trauma is in your, say, genetic makeup, and then you pass that on to your kids. You pass the memories on to your kids. A lot of you who have PTSD type symptoms, you probably have dream states of, say, previous lifetimes, or most likely genetics that have, say, you've inherited of that individual that had PTSD back in the day. So simple as that. Okay? And then you're literally remembering their life in your present moment, say, body. Okay. All right. So again, we're kind of running out of time. One of the best things you could do. This one, there are studies that show PTSD lasts 3 generations in rats. Absolutely. It's a learning mechanism, right? That's how those people survived. That's how that rat survived. So the problem with PTSD is that back then, the trauma was real. There's no trauma, so the body still doesn't know what to do with the trauma. So take a breath in again. So the three things that you can do for your child right away is, one, always reference where they are. This is called spatial referencing, right? Always spatial reference where they are. Always tell them, no matter what they're doing, okay? Always tell them to go, hey, and it sounds really stupid at first, but over time, and people who've done this, their kids have massively transformed. They've massively transformed. This is interesting. Carolyn's starting to get disoriented and a bit nauseous here. Yep. So what's happening for you is that you're really coming into the space and time that you're supposed to be in. Okay? You're always out of space and time. You're always, say, seeing things through your mom's pattern, so to speak. And now you're getting pulled into your pattern. So you're going to get nauseous, just like you would, like if, a plane changes altitude and so on, like that, right? Because, again, your point of references have changed. That's why. So you're letting go of that. So stay in the space, walk through or go through the nauseousness, and then you'll start to recreate yourself the way you should. So you're cleaning up really well, by the way. Okay, you're cleaning up a lot of childhood traumas, by the way, especially in your teens, which is really good. The things that you can do, spatial referencing, Carolyn, is really good for you. Spatial referencing, again, is simply that, you're telling your child is playing on the computer, right? They're lost somewhere. And all you have to do is go, hey, I see that you're playing on the computer. You're playing your favorite game, right? It tells them what's their favorite game, whatever it is, Halo or whatever it might be, Roadblocks or I don't know, whatever game that's out there nowadays. It tells them, boom. It tells them in the present moment what they're doing, right? You don't even have to know what their favorite game is. They'll fill it in, okay? Like, oh, I see you, and I see you sitting on the couch or on the floor playing your favorite game, right? So you're playing your favorite game sitting on the couch. That's the way you should say it, not the other way around, okay? Not like you're sitting on the couch playing your favorite game, because it pushes them into the game. What you want to do is the object and then their body. So it's like, oh, I see you playing your favorite game sitting on the couch, right? Or even better yet, on the left side of the couch or the right side of the couch, whatever it might be. But again, getting more and more specific as time goes by. It sounds a little crazy, okay? And they might go, well, duh. But you know what? When those individuals, especially those kids that are, say, out of time, they'll start to realize it's like, oh yeah, I am. And they'll feel a lot better. They might feel a little disoriented, like Carolyn is, but they'll feel a lot better over time if you just keep saying that, right? Or it's like, hey, let's go eat. We'll go eat in the kitchen. And again, you go eat in the kitchen. It's an action. It's an action, and it's a physical place that they can render consciously. The key is that they can render it consciously, and then that way they'll start. Most parents will just try to make their kids happy. Happiness comes from being connected to your higher version. Being connected to your higher version is simply a process of connecting you in time and space. Okay, so spatial referencing, again, you can do that through sound, right? If they're listening to music, on their headphones, it's like, oh, what music are you listening to on your headphones? So again, it tells them that they're listening to music, right? So again, it's always about the objects and then the body or body part. The other aspect that you can do is that the third part of any 18-day meditations that we do, there's usually 3 parts in the 18-day HyperMeditations. You want to play the last third or the last few days of the 18-day HyperMeditations in the background. They don't have to do it. They just play it in the background. They hardly have to listen to it at all. Just note that it's on. Okay, they don't have to pay attention to the words or anything like that. But again, they'll start to say pull into the frequencies, and it'll say bring them into harmony and balance. in this reality, and they'll start feeling better and better. Those people who do that, by the way, especially if you have kids that are always lost in their TVs and so on like that, they play way too many games, they start to come into this reality. They'll start to do things more of in this reality, right? So, all right. So again, so we talked about that. Talked about things you can do immediately. For some kids, especially when they're younger, I would massage them. Okay, massage their hands, and tell them, hey, my hands are, massaging your hands. Again, it tells them where their body starts and where their environment begins. Because a lot of times, again, that's really hard. And this is for those individuals, even parents, but for kids, if they're all over the place, right? You look at them and it's like, shit, where are they? They're all over the place, right? Give them a massage. Tell them that, hey, this is, your skin is, say, the end of your body, the end of your representation here. It doesn't extend out. It stops here, and an environment, another environment begins, and it'll pull them in. Okay, so that's one of the better ways, especially if they're younger kids. By the way, if you've ever wondered why I say when you're a kid and your mom or dad just stroked you on your back and it felt good. Okay, the reason why it felt good is like it anchored you, it secured you here in time, and it allowed you to go, okay, my body's safe somewhere. It's secure here. Okay? It literally brings them back into the womb where they were surrounded, and they knew where their boundaries were, and they knew they were safe. When they're outside, there's no boundaries. It's just like, shit, where am I? So again, their skin becomes that womb for them. Okay? All right. Again, very crazy thoughts and concepts, but these thoughts and concepts really, really work. Okay? Just give it a try. All right, let's go ahead and scan some people. As a note, I have to read this. This is Sajady, Exponential Intelligence. Sunday, July 17th, 2022. I'm not a medical doctor. I don't diagnose or heal. I can scan your frequency signature or your child and tell you what I see. So please consult your doctor for professional advice. I'm just telling you what I see. I could be way off. Could be totally wrong. Okay. If you ask to be scanned today, you are agreeing that we may use your session on any public media to help inspire others. So remember, if you don't want us to share your session in public media, don't raise your hands. You can do that in a private session. Okay? All contents are protected by copyright, and you may not use any of our content in any way, shape, or form for any purpose without written permission. And then please type in your request only once. Okay. As a note, there's a lot of people copying my content. It's kind of cool, but then at the same time, again, it's copyright laws, guys. Copying people is the best form of flattery, but again, be mindful on who you're learning from. It should be from XI, us. Okay. All right. This one's from my sad. My brother's kid, 3 years old, wants to join some kids playing softball. He signed the little guy up, and all you want to do is just look at what the other kids were doing. Absolutely. Allow him just to do that. Not about the baseball. It's not about getting him into that stuff. That little kid just wanted to have reference points of other little kids around him. He might be the only one, or he might seems like he feels isolated within his family, so he wants to relate with somebody that he can, connect with, so to speak. So again, allow him. He probably also likes to watch motion. Things in motion, in like rail cars or construction sites or that kind of stuff. He likes motion, so give him motion. Basically, that's spatial referencing for him. Okay. My daughter's husband doesn't like me to be around. I have grandkids that I adore, but my daughter does not stick up for me, and our relationship has declined. Yeah, so my daughter's husband doesn't like me to be around. So what happens is that, especially if you're practicing XI, what happens is that when you're around, it makes him feel insecure, and it's not your problem, literally. It brings him back to the childhood that he never had. So again, sometimes that happens when you're exponentially intelligent. People around you who are insecure don't want you to hang out, don't want you to be around. So what do? So again, that's the issue there on that, unfortunately. But what happens is that you practice. If you're doing the meditations, you can bring in that your daughter-in-law and your daughter, and allow them. You always want to ask, at a spirit level, if that's okay. Seems like it is for both of them. Bring them in, and they'll start to adapt. And then the father can actually start to release his childhood patterns. So basically, in short, when you're around him, he starts to see the unnurtured, say, experience that he had as a child. So, someone's giving you another. So you type in one URL and you get led to another website instead. Yep, exactly. Is spatial referencing the only way to calibrate? There's different ways. There's different methods that we do. I can put you into where you're supposed to be. There's patterns that we do. The 18-day success, the 18-day HyperMeditations. We go through all that stuff. The advanced events that we put on, like the driving to success consciousness. Those are advanced layers of spatial referencing that we do. Again, there's many different ways. Putting you into, say, a traumatic or joyous experience, doing something that's really, really fun for you, where people go, I lost myself doing whatever I enjoyed. You didn't really lose yourself. You actually found yourself. You've lost yourself in your real life. And then what you enjoy doing, what that escape is, whatever it is, what you want to do is that you start to understand why that's so joyful for you. And then you start to ask, it's like, well, what are the mechanics that's allowing, whatever that's fun for me to lose myself into space and time? Because that's when you're really finding yourself out. And then that mechanics you can adapt into your regular life, and your regular life becomes joyous. Okay? So again, there's different ways you can do that. Can you talk about Asperger's type of autism? So Asperger's and autism, again, I'm not claiming to cure anybody, but autism is a disconnect of say, a consciousness, not just dimensions. They're in a different consciousness. When they're in a different consciousness, the different rule sets apply. Those rule sets aren't based on any rule sets here. Those rule sets are all about, say, connecting, working together, working as one, as whole, and so on. There's more love in that. That's why they're always smiling, by the way. A lot of autistic kids, right? Sometimes they might get angry from what I'm seeing, is because they're seeing that the possibility of what could be is here, but they're actually experiencing it in a very, very different way. So that's why sometimes autistic kids get really, really angry, because they want to pull their consciousness of the real reality of what it is, a higher version of this reality, a better version into this reality. So with autistic kids, I've helped them pull those things together where you get to go. It's like, you're creating yourself here. Your idea, your perfect environment, is here. but obviously you've created, or you've rendered your physical reality here. So what you want to do is you merge the two together, and you get the best of both worlds, and then they can actually pull that higher reality down into, say, this reality, which really changes. So the new pedestal in the advanced 18-day changed everything for me. I've been rendering in multiple dimensions and finally having a coordinate where I'm supposed to be. I'm so fantastic. Again, that's another way of spatial referencing. My baby was born with club feet. Does that mean we were in different realities? I'm not exactly sure what club feet mean. Just give me a second. Club feet. It could just be especially in highly complex orthopedic conditions and injuries in kids. Yeah. So it's not that you're in different realities. It's just that what's happened is that your baby. Again, I'm not diagnosing, or I'm just telling you what I see. Is that your baby is, from what I'm seeing, you'll probably see her. You'll probably see her as an old soul, or somebody that's really, really wise. And the reason why is because, part of her genetic makeup is literally from like a grandmother or a mother. So it's an older genetic pattern that's in a new baby. So imagine that. So the genetics didn't really clean out. It didn't really purify. And now your baby has some bone issues and so on like that are associated to older individuals. So you not only got, the looks and so on like that, but some of the physical issues that an older person would have. So again, space-time issues. Those would be. I can't guarantee anything, but if you disconnect the genetics of the person that they inherited that from, that kid could turn back into their age. Right now, they'll always feel older than what they are. Okay, and comment in. People are talking about, say, dyslexia. Dyslexia is actually, you're really afraid of being in this reality or of this reality. So what happens is that you'll go, well, I'm afraid of what's in that room. So say you're in this room, and then the next room is the reality, right? You don't want to show yourself. You don't want to represent yourself for real. So what you do, in your case, dyslexia, what happens is, or those kids who have dyslexia, if you look at them, some of the outward physical, they're always kind of shy. They always don't want to show themselves off, or like an extreme version that they're always showing themselves off, which is the same thing, by the way. They'd always rather be alone. They'd always be, say, looking at themselves, or they're always, say, they might be looking in the mirror or something like that, or their reflection, or copying other people. They also might be observing what they're doing all the time. So they're an observer. They're observing themselves doing whatever they're doing. They're not in the moment. So overall, again, they're shy. So so back to that room. So they're here. They want to be in this room. They want to know what's going on in this room, but there's a wall. Okay, so you have like a U-shaped wall, a U-shape, and then again a wall in between. So what they do with dyslexia, what dyslexic people do, literally, and there's different forms, by the way, and different degrees of severity. If you really say inward, right, and like a real introvert, so to speak, a severe introvert, what you would do is like your whole world would be flipped around. So you have this U-shaped room, right? You're here. Your reality that you should exist in is here. There's a wall. So how do you connect to that reality? You can like peek around that reality, right? You can look around. Some kids do that. But what happens is that you have this U-shaped room. they put like a mirror right on the you. Okay, so they're safe where they are, deep within, say, that room or their reality. They see the mirror, and then they can see what's happening, so to speak. And then everything is flipped around because it's a mirror image of it. That makes sense to you. So and that's where most dyslexia. So you're basically seeing this reality through a reflection of how you see this reality. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you, right? So again, the reality that dyslexic people live in is a reflection of it. So that's why they don't really feel like they're part of this reality. Simple as that. My father used to speak of himself in third person. Yep. It's always, yeah. So for your father, he would be looking at himself through his like grandfather's eyes or father's eyes. It's like so and so, right? Like he would always hear himself. He would always hear his name, like say his mom and dad or grandfather were talking about. Joe was this way. As a little kid, Joe is like this. Joe, why can't Joe do this? Why can't Joe? So over time, your father would just like adopt the grandfather's pattern, or it could be the father, but anyway, a masculine pattern that feels older to me, unless his father was really, really old compared to normal. So again, so he's like Joe. So he's seeing his whole life through, a grandfather. How do we help our dyslexic kids? We are going to be doing a program on that, on helping dyslexic kids, for sure. That's coming out. Can you do a medi? Yeah, we're doing a medi on that. I've helped a few dyslexic kids with really great success. This one person, she couldn't read at all. And she's in high school. She couldn't read at all because everything was backwards. Now she's starting to read. She's getting more comfortable and so on like that. So again, it's just research, guys. I can't guarantee anything, but we'll create a program, and it will be an intensive program, obviously, because there has to be a lot of dynamics behind it. So we're working on that. My son has Tourette's syndrome. So what is that then? Tourette's. I just want to know what Tourette's. Just give me 1 second, guys. Yeah, thought so. So Tourette syndrome, system order, a nervous system disorder involving repetitive movements or unwanted sounds. Yeah. So those, what happens is that they're not getting feedback. So your kid, your son, they're not getting the feedback that they need, for example. So what that means is that, So what that means is that, they're in a reality, and they feel like they're in one reality, and then everybody else is in another reality, and then they're like behind a glass window. Okay, and the reality is happening outside them, and they're trying to communicate to you behind this glass window, but they can't. So they'll keep say pounding on that glass. Okay, that's what I saw. Even before I looked it up, it's like shit. He's just trying to get your attention, but he doesn't think that you're paying attention to him, or he doesn't think that he sees you. So what you could do, again, spatial reference. That person with Tourette's, you can hold his hands, rub his hands, really calms him down because he kind of feels that sensation on what's happening for you. You can allow him to, he likes to draw from what I'm seeing. It pulls him into, he would be a great drawer, by the way. It pulls him into the reality that he should be in. So again, it's getting him out of that, say, block that he sees himself in. Okay. All right, guys, we have to get going. Notice what you notice, and then notice the details of what you're noticing. All right. Peace, and I'll see you